Have you ever caught yourself scrolling through social media, comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel? Have you ever felt behind as if you're running a race you didn't even sign up for? We all do it. We chase validation, measure success by someone else's ruler, and spend precious energy worrying about things beyond our control. From the moment we step into the world, we are conditioned to compete. It starts in school. Who gets the highest grades? Who makes the team? Who gets into the best college? Then it follows us into adulthood. Who lands the highest paying job? Who buys the biggest house? Who seems to have it all together? Society teaches us that life is a race and that our worth is defined by how we measure up against others. But here's the truth. There is no race. There is no finish line. The idea that we are competing against others is an illusion, a false narrative that keeps us distracted from what actually matters, our own progress. Think about the most successful people in the world. Do you really believe they spend their time obsessing over their competition? No. They focus on what they do best. They refine their skills. They put in the hours to get better at their craft. Because the moment you start fixating on someone else's journey, you take your eyes off your own. Competition creates a mindset of scarcity. It tells you that success is limited, that there's only so much to go around, and that if someone else is winning, you must be losing. This kind of thinking is dangerous. It leads to insecurity, jealousy, and burnout. It forces you to chase external validation rather than internal growth. And worst of all, it keeps you trapped in a cycle of never feeling good enough. Because no matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone ahead of you. But what if you stopped seeing others as competition? What if, instead of comparing yourself to them, you used them as inspiration? What if you shifted your focus away from what everyone else is doing and started investing that energy into your own development? The greatest leaders, athletes, and innovators didn't succeed by trying to beat someone else. They succeeded by mastering themselves, by committing to lifelong learning, by focusing on getting just 1% better every day. When you stop chasing others and start focusing on yourself, something powerful happens. You gain control. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping your own future. You realize that success isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And that is where real growth begins. We live in a world that glorifies big achievements. We celebrate grand successes, major breakthroughs, and overnight transformations. We see headlines about billionaires who made their fortune young, athletes who shattered records, and entrepreneurs who built empires seemingly out of nowhere. But what we don't see, the part that rarely gets talked about, is the small, unglamorous, everyday actions that led them there. The truth is, success is not built on one massive leap. It's built on thousands of small, consistent steps that compound over time. Every great achievement, every moment of breakthrough, is the result of small wins stacked on top of each other, often unnoticed, often uncelebrated. Take an athlete training for the Olympics. They don't wake up one day and set a world record. They show up every single day, practicing the same movements, making tiny adjustments, shaving off milliseconds. They focus on what they can improve today, not just on the gold medal that may come years later. It's the daily discipline, the micro improvements, the relentless consistency that leads to excellence. Yet most people ignore this. They want instant results. They want to lose 50 pounds in a month, launch a successful business overnight, master a skill in a few weeks. And when they don't see immediate success, they get discouraged. They quit. They tell themselves it wasn't meant for them. But real progress isn't about giant leaps. It's about small incremental gains. It's about reading 10 pages of a book instead of trying to finish it in one sitting. It's about doing 10 push-ups today, then 12 tomorrow, instead of obsessing over having the perfect body. It's about making one extra sales call, writing one more paragraph, practicing one more scale on the piano. Because here's the thing, small wins create momentum. When you achieve something, no matter how tiny, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and reinforcement. This chemical reward encourages you to keep going. That's why making your bed in the morning, as simple as it seems, can set the tone for the entire day. It's a small win that signals to your brain, I am someone who completes tasks. I am someone who follows through. And over time, these small wins accumulate. They build confidence, they create habits, they shift your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to get in shape, you see yourself as someone who works out daily. You no longer feel like a struggling writer, you become someone who writes every day. You no longer doubt your ability to succeed, you prove to yourself, step by step, that you are capable. The mistake most people make is waiting for motivation to strike before they take action. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. The secret is to focus on action first, no matter how small, because action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. When you commit to small wins, you shift your mindset from focusing on the overwhelming big picture to just focusing on what's next. You stop feeling paralyzed by the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Instead, you concentrate on what you can do right now, in this moment. Every single day you wake up with a limited amount of energy. Think of it like a battery. Some people start their day with 100% charge, while others wake up already drained from stress, poor sleep, or mental clutter. And just like your phone battery, every action, every thought, and every decision you make throughout the day consumes a little bit of that energy. The question is, where is your energy actually going? Most people don't realize how much energy they waste on things that don't serve them. They spend hours scrolling through social media, consuming endless information that adds no real value to their lives. They get caught up in arguments that lead nowhere, worrying about what others think, comparing themselves to people who aren't even aware of their existence. They let external distractions dictate their focus, and before they know it, they've spent an entire day exhausted without actually accomplishing anything meaningful. And then when it's time to work on their goals, when it's time to exercise, to learn a new skill, to build something important, they have nothing left to give. They feel drained, they feel overwhelmed, not because they did too much, but because they spent their energy on the wrong things. The truth is, energy isn't just about physical stamina. It's mental, it's emotional, it's psychological. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, and every decision you make requires energy. That's why some people feel completely exhausted after spending a day doing nothing. It's not because they worked too hard, it's because they spent their energy in all the wrong places. Think about how much energy is wasted on negativity. How often do we replay past mistakes in our heads, overanalyze what we should have said, or dwell on things we can't change? How often do we let toxic people drain us, engaging in unnecessary drama, feeding into gossip, or trying to prove something to people who don't even matter? Every one of those moments is stealing from your potential. It's like leaving apps running in the background of your phone. It slowly drains your battery without you even realizing it. Highly successful people understand this. They are ruthless about where their energy goes. They set boundaries, they protect their focus. They don't waste time on meaningless debates, on distractions, on things outside their control. Instead, they channel their energy into what moves them forward, into their craft, their relationships, their purpose. This is why rest is just as important as action. Many people think success comes from working harder, pushing through exhaustion, grinding 24/7. But the truth is, if you don't recharge, you will burn out. Even the most powerful machines need maintenance. Even the best athletes know that recovery is essential for peak performance. Energy isn't just about how much you exert, it's about how well you manage and replenish it. You have to be intentional, you have to audit your life and ask yourself, where is my energy actually going? Am I spending it on things that build me up or on things that drain me? Am I investing in my future or wasting it on things I'll forget about a week from now? Because if you don't take control of your energy, most people live their lives as if they are playing a game with a defined ending. They chase success as if there is a finish line, a point where they've made it, where they can finally stop and say, I've won. They measure progress in short-term victories, getting the promotion, hitting a financial goal, achieving a personal milestone. But what happens when they reach that goal? What happens when they finally win? More often than not, they feel an unexpected emptiness, a nagging question. Now what? The truth is, life is not a game with a final score. There is no permanent victory, no ultimate endpoint. The moment you start believing that success is about reaching a destination, you set yourself up for disappointment. Because the second you stop growing, you start declining. The second you believe you've arrived, you stop evolving. And that's where people get stuck, trapped in the illusion that once they achieve X, everything will be perfect. An infinite mindset shifts the way you think. Instead of focusing on winning, you focus on continuing. Instead of obsessing over temporary success, you commit to lifelong growth. You don't train for a single race, you train to be an athlete for life. You don't build a business just to hit a revenue goal. Look at the greatest companies in the world, the ones that thrive for decades, even centuries, aren't the ones obsessed with beating their competition in the short term. They're the ones that play the long game. They innovate, they adapt, they think beyond quarterly profits. They don't just try to be the best today, they aim to be better every single day. The same applies to personal growth. If your mindset is finite, you'll constantly feel pressure to prove yourself, to reach a goal, to get external validation, to show that you're better than others. But an infinite mindset frees you from that trap. You stop seeing life as a series of competitions and start seeing it as a continuous evolution. You measure progress not by how well you did compared to others, but by how much you've improved compared to who you were yesterday. An infinite mindset also changes how you handle setbacks. People with a finite mindset see failure as an endpoint, proof that they weren't good enough, that they should quit, that they'll never succeed. But those with an infinite mindset see failure as part of the process. They understand that growth comes from persistence, from learning, from adapting. They know that every setback is just another step forward, another lesson that will make them stronger. Think about the people who have truly changed the world. Scientists, artists, leaders, visionaries. They didn't stop after one success. They didn't settle after one breakthrough. They kept going. They stayed curious. They never saw themselves as having won. They understood that mastery is never achieved, only pursued. The infinite mindset removes pressure. It allows you to embrace the journey instead of obsessing over the destination. It reminds you that success isn't about beating someone else. It's about staying in the game, about constantly growing, about becoming the best version of yourself. We spend so much of our lives trying to control things that are completely out of our hands. We worry about what others think of us. We stress over outcomes that haven't even happened yet. We try to predict the future, fix the past, and manage every little detail of life as if we could force things to go exactly the way we want. But the reality is, no matter how much effort we put in, there will always be things beyond our control. And the more we try to control them, the more exhausted, frustrated, and powerless we feel. Think about how much energy is wasted on worrying. We worry about how people perceive us, whether they like us, whether they approve of our choices, whether they think we're successful enough, smart enough, good enough. But the truth is, no matter what we do, we will never have full control over someone else's opinion. People see the world through their own experiences, their own biases, their own insecurities. Their judgments are theirs, not ours. And yet so many of us spend our days adjusting ourselves, filtering our words, and shaping our actions to fit into someone else's expectations, all while losing sight of who we actually are. Then there's the obsession with controlling outcomes. We set a goal, and suddenly we believe that every step along the way must go exactly as planned. We expect things to unfold in a straight line, and the moment something unexpected happens, whether it's failure, rejection, or an unforeseen obstacle, we panic. We feel like we've lost control, as if everything is falling apart. But here's the hard truth. You were never in control of the outcome to begin with. The only thing you ever had control over was your effort, your mindset, and your response to the situation. Look at the most successful people in the world. They didn't get where they are by micromanaging every detail of their journey. They got there by focusing on what they could control, their habits, their work ethic, their attitude, and letting go of everything else. They understood that setbacks were inevitable, that things wouldn't always go as planned, that uncertainty is part of the process. But instead of letting that paralyze them, they adapted. They kept moving forward. They embraced the reality that while they couldn't control everything, they could always control how they showed up. And that's the key, learning to separate what is within your power from what isn't. You can't control the economy, but you can control how you manage your finances. You can control whether a company hires you, but you can control how prepared you are for the interview. You can control whether someone loves you back, but you can control how you show up in relationships. When you stop trying to control everything, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. You stop wasting time and energy on things that don't serve you. You become more present, more focused, more resilient. Because the reality is, life will always be unpredictable. The world will always throw challenges your way. But when you learn to control what you can and let go of the rest, you don't just survive, you thrive. That crack a cappuccino, at the core of it all, life is not about winning or losing, comparing or competing, controlling or predicting every outcome. It's about growth. It's about progress. It's about shifting our mindset to focus on what truly matters. Ourselves, our energy, our small wins, and our infinite potential. When we free ourselves from the illusion of competition, we stop chasing validation and start embracing our own unique journey. When we recognize the power of small wins, we build momentum, confidence, and habits that shape the future. When we understand that energy is a limited resource, we learn to protect it, invest it wisely, and use it to move forward instead of being drained by things that don't serve us. And when we embrace the infinite mindset, we realize that there is no finish line, only a continuous path of growth and evolution. But most importantly, when we learn to control what we can and let go of the rest, we release the weight of unnecessary stress, fear, and frustration. We stop being victims of circumstance and start being architects of our own lives. Because at the end of the day, true success isn't about how many people you surpass, how much control you have, or how quickly you reach your goals. It's about the person you become along the way. It's about resilience. It's about commitment to growth. And it's about understanding that life isn't meant to be won, it's meant to be lived.